it is incredibly ironic that I am doing my first ever review of a game that I actually really loved, and actually be one of the first videos I ever made was a Mario Party video talking about how I wasn't even sure that ND Cube, the studio that develops these Mario Party games, was capable of making a good original Mario Party. And here I am today, being absolutely proven wrong. And I am so excited to tell you why that is, all about Super Mario Party Jamboree and my thoughts on it. So before we get into that, make sure you like and subscribe to today's video if you enjoy the content. We are so close to 1,000 subscribers, and I cannot wait to hit that with y'all. So please consider subscribing. Hit that notification bell if you want to know exactly when these videos release, and consider joining my membership program if you want early access to all of my videos. So without further ado, let's get into my review of Super Mario Party Jamboree. Let's get the best part of this game out of the way. It is completely and totally original, and is very good because of it. Now, my very biggest criticism with the Mario Party era of ND Cube, and ever since they took over back in Mario Party 8, I believe, it is just insane to me to see how badly they have messed up almost every single game. In Mario Party 9 and 10, they did the stupid car game, and it was like everyone was in the same car, and you had to go all around the board in the same car, and it totally defeated the purpose of the board game feel and these luck-based, like, it didn't make any sense, nor did it have anything to do with the series' roots. And they finally decided in the Switch era to kind of come back to that regular Mario Party formula back in 2018 when they released Super Mario Party. And with that game, it was kind of like a reboot, a soft relaunch, if you would say. And they had a ton of different characters and a lot of different unique ideas, but that game was so hit and miss for people because it sold like a ton of units. I think it's probably the best-selling Mario Party game ever, and it is so insane to me how many people bought that game, and yet it wasn't as popular amongst the core Nintendo fans. Some of the biggest criticisms of that game was the boards were too small. There were only 4 of them, I believe, maybe 5. They just didn't add any later. There was no DLC. And the coins and the stars and the economy of that game was insanely bad because you would have like 10 coins and that was enough to get you an entire star. So everyone was getting 1,000,000 stars. You were always ready to get one. The strategy was almost completely taken out because of the allies, in which you could just get as many of them as you wanted and roll a ton of dice. And speaking of die, one of the things that was super unique and that I kind of liked about Super Mario Party was that depending on whichever character that you picked, you would get a different type of die block. Some of them, if you would roll, it would give you coins instead of moving, or you would have like a chance of getting a 10 or another 10 or an 8, but then the rest of them are like either 1s or 0s, and some of them I think were even negative coins, so you would have that risk-reward balance and you would get to pick characters, and that was really cool, but the boards and just the overall economy made it to where it didn't matter. And yes, there were 1,000,000 characters in that game, and that was really cool to see the variety, because I believe it was the most characters in any Mario Party game ever, which was awesome, and they kind of brought that back here. So there were a lot of problems with Super Mario Party, and then they released Mario Party Superstars, which was entirely based on old content, and they totally cut back all of the characters. It was kind of like a nostalgic, old-timey Mario Party that was trying to get people back on track, and I think was trying to get the developers into the headspace of the original Mario Party developers, thinking like, oh, why was this series great to begin with? And I think that is what led them to develop their own formula for what a new Mario Party could look like. And so leading after that, they made Super Mario Party Jamboree 1 year earlier than I had initially predicted. I had said it would probably be a launch title, or at least was in the first year of the Switch 2 coming next year. But I was wrong, and they released it this year, and I was wrong again because it's actually an amazing game, and it's the most fun Mario Party I have ever played, if not, hands down, the best Mario Party, period. They learn from their mistakes of the past, and I'll tell you why. Because with the characters, of course, they give you back the original die, and there are 1,000,000 characters once again, just like Super Mario Party, and they kept that moniker. They kept that Super Mario Party, and then they're giving it a subtitle, which is Jamboree. So I think we have officially moved away from the Mario Party numbered era, and we are now in the Super Mario Party era, which is awesome to see. Nintendo finally moving forward, and NDCube absolutely taking this in stride. They are growing, and it shows within this game. The other criticism from Super Mario Party on its launch release was that there was no online, and the thing about this game, it came with online straight out the gate. And there were a million different modes that compensated for different types of play styles, and you can play pretty much every single mode online. That's worth playing at least. And from my experience, the online has been flawless. I don't understand what has happened at the tail end of the Switch's life, but these games that have released and have had online as somewhat of a major focus, or at least have had modes that have online, they've been almost completely and totally flawless. So I don't know if internally they have switched to some new code, or if they're doing some sort of weird behind-the-scenes dedicated server work, but it's starting to work, and it's working well, and that is a big plus moving into the Switch 2 generation, and something that they're going to need to perfect is that online play. The other thing that they learned in Super Mario Party Jamboree was the boards, and these boards are so much fun. The only one that I would say is kind of not that great is the Goomba Lagoon course, and that is the one with the volcano, and if you land on the exclamation spot, it will either raise the tide or lower the tide, or if you're near the volcano, it will spit out Goombas that will give you a bunch of coins. And a lot of these ideas are super unique, and I do like their concept, but in practice, I think it ends up being so much more muddled than it needs to. Like, for example, I was playing on the board, and actually I got stuck on an island, and I was like, what in the world? And for I think it was either 4 or 5 straight turns, I was stuck on this mini island in which I could only go 4 spots around. Now, luckily, all of these spots were blue, and I was able to get as many different coins as I needed to get every single time. But because I was down like actual stars and I didn't have any items to make me transport to anywhere else, I was literally stuck on 4 spaces for half the game almost. And that is just inexcusable design in my opinion. You have got to give your players options in those scenarios. And with the golden Goombas, those were a very cool idea, and I did like getting them, but I found that on every other board I played, the economy of these coins and stars and all of that balance was so much better than it was on Goomba Lagoon, and that's because of those Goombas, I think. I think it's because you go all the way around, and if you're up in that top area when those things come out, you get like a million coins if you just keep looping around. And then, of course, if a star lands over there, or if you can get to a star, you'll have no problem doing so with all of those coins and just paying for them in general. So it is insane to me that they even considered this to be a good idea, but I don't think it's a bad course. Like, I obviously think that there will be fun to be had on this, especially with friends. I can see people raging so hard with this, and that's probably going to be very fun. And that's, of course, part of the Mario Party formula, is just kind of being frustrated, even if it's luck or not. I can imagine how much fun people would have getting stuck on islands like that for like 10 turns in a row, and people just being absolutely yelling at each other. So that must be fun for some people, but I just think it's bad design overall. The mall board was so much fun. There are 3 levels, and I'm not sure if we've ever had in Mario Party history, at least without the car levels in Mario Party 9 and 10, but in the actual single player, like you're running around by yourself type Mario Party games, I don't think we've had such verticality in any boards ever like this. And I can't believe how they did it so well. It works so well. You go up the escalators and all around the mall, and then in the middle of it, there's a little elevator that would take you to the 3rd floor. So even though it feels like this place is huge and you can go to a million different shops that will give you all of these different items depending on your positioning. So if you're in 4th place, there's a 4th place shop that will give you items specifically just for being in last, and I think it's for free. And then there are different item shops for everyone all across the board. So they really leaned into the aspect of it being a shopping mall, because you're really getting a lot of items, and the more items you get, the more it makes traversing this big mall even better and easier, and that is always a good thing, to have easy and fun gameplay. Well, not always a good thing, but in Mario Party, it is always better to make it to where your player isn't frustrated by moving around. So they really did a good job with this. And yes, it feels big, but at the same time, I never felt like it was impossible for me to get from one side to another if I needed to. And the other board that I just truly loved was the one that they had brought back from an older Mario Party, which was another unique thing that they had done in this game. They had 5 original boards, and then 2 they brought back from the older games. And a lot of people were like, 2? That's kind of weird. But I think they hit a perfect balance here because they didn't want to get too stuck in the past and bring back all of these old boards and get that same Superstars criticism of not being original like I had said. They went all out with the 5 original boards and then added 2 amazing past boards. And I think my favorite board in the entire game, of course the mall one is amazing and it's up there, but the train board is so much fun in the music design, the sound design. Every time your character goes up, the music, it's all so well done. The other board I believe is my favorite, has to be the Speedway board, in which you're in these little cars, and it's kind of PTSD for that Mario Party 910, but everyone's in their own car and you're speeding around. And because of that, you get to go around this bigger board than every other board at a pace that feels normal because you're in such a speedy car. And it's just a lot of fun, and it's so original, and you can go across different paths. They did such an amazing job at designing the boards in this game. And I had talked about the economy earlier, so I figured I would double up on that and say the economy in this game is flawless. It is so perfect. The Goomba Lagoon isn't my favorite, and there are obviously problems that I had already mentioned with this earlier in the video, but in this particular game, of all of the other boards, it is so well done, especially, and this is a good segue here, with the Pro rules. Now, after you play one game of the original Mario Party style, you get to unlock Pro rules, and this was what took it to the next level for me, because before you even start your game, every single time you click on a board and you click your random characters, or if you go online, you get to pick an item. One item right before you go onto that board. And if you know those boards well, you know which items are probably going to be useful for you, and you can strategize so well. For example, on the one board in which you go around the train, there in the middle of it is a gate, and the item you need to open that is of course the key. So if you wanted to, before going into that, you could grab a key and then have access to that when no one else does, if no one else picked a key. Or you could risk it, get a mushroom or double dice or whatever item they're offering, and try to get there as fast as possible and hope you hit an item shop along the way to get a key. Or maybe you won't even need the key and you can go around. There is just so much strategy in the Pro Rule mindset, and I love it. There are so many other things about this Pro Rule stuff that makes this game one of my favorite Mario Parties ever. And I love the item variety in this game. There are a ton of different items, and some of them are specific to the boards in which you're on, and of course not all of them are universal, but for example, a mushroom item will give you 5 extra spaces no matter what. So if you're just kind of in a hurry, you can use the mushroom to get where you need to go. And I found that I was encountering items quite a bit in all of the games that I played, so I felt like sometimes you'll be stuck in your own head and thinking like, oh, I need to save all of these items, as many of them as I can, blah, 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 and it just doesn't work out how you think it might. But this game really encourages you to use as many items as possible and as much of them as you want. You can hold on to them for strategy, or you can just use them and get where you want to go like I had, and it ends up being a better strategy, in my opinion, because then you just get more items because you're moving more and there's more of a chance to get those. So the items are so well balanced, and I love them all and their uses in these games. And speaking of well balanced, the mini games in this game are so much fun. You could play all of them and never get bored. The variety is insane. They've added a ton of new ones. One of my favorites has to be, it's like a boo carousel, and the goal is if you go too far back, you'll get shocked, but if you go up too quickly, you'll get shocked. So you have to make your way through this carnival. You're working around it shortly. It's like a big spin, and you got to jump over and dodge and jump on top of each other to make sure that you are the last one standing, and it's so much fun. And every single time that you're going around the board and you have a versus minigame, there will be specific minigames tailored towards those as well. The minigames are amazing. There are a million of them, and it's probably the biggest part of Mario Party and the easiest to not mess up. So I really am glad to see that trend continue. Great minigames across the board, and the allies were one of the worst parts of Super Mario Party for a lot of people, just because it was super broken, like I said earlier, with the unique die and adding up a ton, so you just run around the board the more allies you had. In this game, they bring back allies in the best way possible. every time an ally comes onto the board, it's in a random spot, and they give you 3 turns to get there. Now, if you get there, that doesn't automatically mean that you have earned that ally. You have to fight for it, and I mean fight for it. And every single time you land on an ally space, you then get to go to a unique minigame tailored towards that specific ally. So for example, I ran into Waluigi, and then he had us do a extremely long minigame in which you had to do pinball. But it was like 200 seconds worth of pinball, and it was awesome. It was so much fun, and of course I won Waluigi, and I ended up winning the game because of it. Thank you, Waluigi. But if you get to that ally first, you get an advantage in that minigame, not the actual ally itself, which is a massive change, because so many different times have I played these games of Super Mario Party and such, and you'd go to get an ally, and it's super OP, and you're like, dang, it didn't make sense for it to just randomly pop over there, and then just because you were one step away, you got him before me. But in this game, even if you're all the way across the map, you're the furthest away from this ally, if you win the ally minigame, if you beat the person who got there first and had the advantage, you then get that ally. And the ally is so incredibly useful. You get to buy 2 stars if you have 40 coins, because 1 star costs 20. So it just gives you the ability to get 2 of those. If you're going to item shops, you get the ability to get 2 items. If you land on positive squares, sometimes it will give you double the coins or double whatever that positive square is. You get so much new stuff with these allies. And with each ally, they have, of course, their own unique minigames. Luigi has this like Luigi's Mansion type one. Donkey Kong has a Jungle Beat type one. And every ally gives you a unique ability. Like with Waluigi, if you pass by a character on the board, you get to steal coins from them. With Donkey Kong and Luigi, they have their own unique style of play as well. And if you get Mario, he lets you get a higher probability of having a higher roll, I believe. It could be Luigi that does that, I'm not entirely sure, but every ally gives you unique abilities, and it's not just the same. So you can always tailor your moveset around that. And if, for example, there's an ally that's like, oh, you get a higher chance of such and such, but you already have a ton of those, maybe it's more strategic for you to not try to go for that ally, to try to go to wherever the star is while everyone else is chasing to get the ally. And guess what? Even if you don't go towards the ally and they get there before you get a chance to win him by winning that minigame. So it kind of works in your advantage to have people not go for it, but it could really work for your advantage if you get there first and then get an advantage in the minigame to earn the ally. So there's so much strategy here, and that is one of my favorite parts about Mario Party. So it's great to see in Jamboree, strategy is as important as ever. I've talked plenty about the main Mario Party mode and everything else up to this point, but now I want to tell you about all of the other modes in this game, because there are a million of them, and you might be thinking, oh, this game's amazing already, what could they possibly add on to it? How about all of these? Bowser's Kaboom Squad, Koopa-thon, and a actual story mode, and you get to use these motion control wing flying type mode. It's not that fun, but hey, it's there. And another motion controlled type mode. It's called Toad's Factory, I believe, in which you get to move your Joy-Con and do all of these fun mini games. It is absolutely insane how much content there is in this game. And usually, if a game is full of content and it's a party-based game like this, most of it is super shallow, but every single mode is incredibly deep, except for maybe the motion-controlled ones. Those are kind of gimmicky, but all the other ones are amazing. Like, for example, Bowser's Kaboom Squad. You get a whole bunch of players running around a little map. There's the imposter Bowser, and he's chasing you. You guys have to take turns running around, and you get to bust open crates, get a bunch of bombs, put them back in the cannon, and you have to run around the map and not get hit and not get knocked out, and you have to try to take down Bowser's health meter. Obviously in the story mode, there's more health meter boss fights, and then with the Koopa-thon, you are up to 20 players. You get to play with up to 20 players, and you run around a board, and you're doing minigame after minigame after minigame, and the more coins you collect, the more you run around this big map. The first person to do, I believe, 3 laps wins it, or it's 5 laps. I think it's customizable in terms of laps, but it's just so much content. Take my word for it, it's amazing. The only quote-unquote negative I would have about this game is the way you unlock the 2 unlockable characters, Pauline and the Ninja. And I love that you have unlockable characters. That's always fun in a game. Like Smash Brothers, you get to unlock the entire roster, and it's super fun. But here, it's almost pointless that they did that, because once you start the game, you go up in the hot air balloon and you kind of look around this big map, and the way you select different modes is by looking around. However, the only way to unlock these characters, Pauline and Ninji, is literally just looking around and zooming in on them, and that's it. So I assume there are going to be people out there who have no idea how to get these characters and will be playing the game forever and ever and just won't be able to understand it, and they won't get it done, and they'll be like, oh my goodness, where are these characters? And they'll find out after looking it up after like a year or two maybe, that all you had to do was look across the map and there they were. So at that point, I'm almost like, why did you even make it to where we had to unlock them if it was going to be that easy to unlock? But whatever, we love to have Pauline and Ninji, and we love to have like 20 plus characters to play as. Super Mario Party Jamboree is the best Mario Party game I think I've ever played. I love Mario Party 8, that's nostalgic to me, and I probably won't ever dethrone that as my personal heart game, but objectively, I think Mario Party Jamboree has got every other installment beat. So I'm excited to tell y'all, I love this game, and I think everyone should go buy it, especially if it ends up going on sale here or there sooner or later. All these Mario Party games tend to go a little bit on sale during the holiday seasons. Maybe not this holiday because it just came out a month ago, but I recommend this game to everyone, and I love Super Mario Party Jamboree. So thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and finally, this guy's talking positive for once, right? So thank you again for reaching the end of the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We're close to 1,000 subs. I keep saying that, but I'm just excited, and I want y'all to be excited with me. So thank you for that. Consider joining my membership program if you want early access to my videos. Click the notification bell to know when all of those videos drop. Thank you so much for watching. I have been Ray. This is Ray's Nintendo Talk, and I will see y'all in the next video. Have a great day.